Hey there. You know what? Depending too much on others, trusting them too much, it really does lead to disappointment. That's just the reality. That's just how it is sometimes. Because people are human. They have their own lives, their own problems, their own limitations. And no matter how much you depend on them, no matter how much you trust them, they can't always be there. They can't always show up. They can't always give you what you need. And when they don't, when they let you down, when they disappoint you, it hurts. It really hurts. Because you gave them so much. You trusted them completely. You depended on them entirely. And then they weren't there. Maybe they didn't mean to hurt you. Maybe they had their own reasons. Maybe they were dealing with their own stuff. But it still hurts. You still feel abandoned. You still feel let down. And now you're lying here tonight, feeling that disappointment, feeling that hurt, questioning whether you can trust anyone, wondering if you should just never depend on anyone again. Take a breath with me, just one breath. And as you exhale, feel that disappointment. Don't push it away. It's real. It's valid. You trusted someone, and they let you down. That hurts. Let your shoulders drop. Let yourself feel it. The hurt. The disappointment. The realization that depending on others too much can lead to pain. Tonight, we're going to talk about something important, something real, something that might be hard to hear but is necessary to understand. You can't make other people responsible for your happiness. You can't give them complete power over your peace. You can't depend on them so much that when they're not there, you fall apart. Not because they're bad people, but because they're human, with their own limits, their own capacity, their own lives. And depending on them too much, trusting them too completely, expecting them to be your everything, that's setting yourself up for disappointment. Because no one can be that for you. No one can be everything. No one can always be there. No one is that reliable, that available, that constant. So tonight, we're going to talk about something different. Not about trusting others less, but about trusting yourself more. Not about depending on others less, but about depending on yourself first. Because the truth is, the only person who's always going to be there is you. The only person you can truly depend on is you. The only person who can truly give you what you need is you. And learning that, accepting that, building that, it's not about being alone. It's about being your own foundation. So that when others show up, it's a gift, not a necessity. So that when they're there, you're grateful, not dependent. You know why you depend on others so much, why you trust them so completely, why you give them so much power over how you feel. Because somewhere along the way, you learned that your value comes from others, that your worth depends on whether they choose you, that your happiness relies on whether they show up for you. So you look to them for everything, for validation, for security, for happiness, for proof that you matter, for reassurance that you're okay. And every time they give you those things, you feel good, you feel secure, you feel valued, you feel like you matter. But then they pull back. They get busy with their own lives. They can't give you what you need. They disappoint you. And you crash. Because your sense of worth was in their hands. Your happiness was dependent on their presence. Your security was tied to their availability. That's exhausting for you, and honestly, for them too, because you're asking them to be something they can't consistently be. Your everything, your validation, your source of worth. That's not fair to them. They're just human. They can't carry that responsibility. They shouldn't have to. And it's not good for you either, because it means you're never truly secure. You're only as secure as they are available. You're only as happy as they are present. You're only as okay as they are attentive. That's not stability. That's dependency. And dependency leaves you vulnerable, fragile, easily hurt. So what if you changed that? What if you started building your own sense of worth? What if you created your own security that doesn't depend on whether others show up? Not because you don't need people. You do. Humans need connection. That's normal. That's healthy. But there's a difference between needing connection and being dependent, between wanting support and requiring someone else to be your stability. You can need people without giving them all your power. You can want their love without making it essential for your survival. You can appreciate their presence without falling apart when they're absent. That's healthy need. That's balanced connection. That's what relationships should look like. Not you depending on them to hold you up, but you standing on your own, inviting them to stand with you. Not them being responsible for your happiness, but them adding to a happiness you've already created. That's sustainable. That's healthy. That's what protects you from constant disappointment. Because when you depend on yourself first, when you create your own stability, when you build your own sense of worth, then others' actions don't devastate you. If they show up, great. You appreciate it. If they don't, you're disappointed but not destroyed. If they're there, you're grateful. If they're not, you're still okay. Because your okay doesn't depend on them. Your worth doesn't come from them. Your stability isn't built on them. It's built on you, on your own foundation, on your own strength, on your own knowing that you're okay, regardless of what anyone else does. That's what you need to build. That's what will protect you. That's what will keep disappointment from destroying you. So start today. Start trusting yourself. Start depending on yourself. Start creating your own stability that doesn't require anyone else to maintain. Now let's talk about trust. Because I know you've been hurt by trusting too much, by believing in someone completely, by thinking they'd always be there. And now you're wondering if you should ever trust anyone again. If you should just keep everyone at arm's length. If you should protect yourself by never depending on anyone. But that's not the answer either, because isolation isn't safety. Shutting everyone out isn't protection. Never trusting isn't strength. The answer isn't to stop trusting others. The answer is to trust yourself first. Trust yourself to be okay, even if they let you down. Trust yourself to handle disappointment. Trust yourself to survive, even when people aren't there. Because here's the truth. People will let you down. Not because they're terrible, but because they're human. They have limits. They make mistakes. They have their own struggles. So if you're waiting for someone who will never disappoint you, you'll be waiting forever. That person doesn't exist. But you can develop the ability to handle disappointment, to survive being let down, to be okay even when people aren't perfect. That's trusting yourself. That's self-reliance. That's real strength. Not never needing anyone, but knowing you'll be okay regardless of whether they show up. Not never trusting anyone, but trusting yourself to handle it when trust is broken. Not never depending on anyone, but depending on yourself first, so that others' presence is a gift, not a necessity. That's the difference. That's what changes everything. When you trust yourself to be okay regardless, you can trust others without giving them all your power. When you depend on yourself first, you can depend on others without making them responsible for your entire well-being. That's balanced. That's healthy. That's sustainable. So the work isn't about building walls to protect yourself from everyone. The work is about building a foundation within yourself so strong that others' actions can't destroy you. Build that foundation. Create that stability. Develop that self-trust so that you can be in relationships without losing yourself, so that you can trust without being dependent, so that you can love without being destroyed when it's not perfect. That's wisdom. That's maturity. That's real strength. Not closing yourself off, but opening yourself while staying grounded in your own stability. Not never trusting, but trusting wisely, from a place of self-reliance rather than dependency. Not never needing anyone, but needing from abundance rather than desperation. That's what you're working toward. That's what will protect you. That's what will allow you to have relationships without constantly being disappointed. Because you'll be standing on your own, stable in yourself, secure in yourself, so that others can add to your life without being responsible for your entire well-being. That's freedom. That's health. That's what you deserve. So build it. Trust yourself. Depend on yourself. Create your own stability. And then invite others into that stable space. Not to create stability for you, but to share the stability you've already created. That's healthy relationship. That's sustainable connection. That's what protects you from devastation when people are imperfect. Here's something important about boundaries. When you depend on others too much, you often have weak boundaries. Because you're so afraid of losing them, you say yes when you mean no. You give when you have nothing left. You accommodate their needs while ignoring your own. All because you're terrified that if you set a boundary, they'll leave. But that's not healthy connection. That's codependency. That's you abandoning yourself to keep someone else. And here's the irony. When you have no boundaries, when you give up yourself to keep someone, they often lose respect for you anyway. Or you resent them for what you're giving up. or the relationship becomes unhealthy and unsustainable. So, weak boundaries don't actually keep people. They just make relationships dysfunctional. Real connection can handle boundaries. Healthy relationships respect your needs. Good people don't require you to abandon yourself to keep them. So if someone can't handle your boundaries, if they leave when you prioritize yourself, they weren't right for you anyway. They wanted dependency, not relationship. They wanted you to be small, not whole. That's not love. That's not healthy. That's not what you need. What you need are relationships where you can have boundaries and still be valued, where you can say no and still be respected, where you can prioritize yourself without being abandoned. Those relationships exist, but you have to set boundaries to find them. You have to prioritize yourself to attract them. You have to stop abandoning yourself to keep people who don't respect you. So start setting boundaries. Start saying no. Start prioritizing your own needs. Even if you're afraid. Even if you think they'll leave. Even if it feels uncomfortable. Because people who truly value you will respect your boundaries. People who are healthy will appreciate your self-care. People who are right for you will still be there when you prioritize yourself. And people who can't handle that, people who require you to have no boundaries, people who need you to abandon yourself, those people aren't your people anyway. Let them go. Not with bitterness, but with the recognition that they weren't capable of healthy relationship. That they wanted dependency, not connection. That they needed you weak, not whole. You deserve better. You deserve relationships where you can have boundaries and still be valued. Where you can be whole and still be chosen. Where you can prioritize yourself and still be loved. Those relationships are possible, but only when you're willing to set boundaries. Only when you're willing to lose people who can't respect them. Only when you're willing to prioritize yourself, even when it's scary. So do it. Set boundaries. Say no. Prioritize yourself. And trust that the right people will stay. The healthy people will respect it. The good relationships will survive it. And the ones that don't, those weren't meant for you anyway. Those were unhealthy connections that needed to end. Those were relationships built on dependency rather than mutual respect. So let them go and make room for people who can respect your boundaries, who appreciate your wholeness, who value you even when you prioritize yourself. Those are your people. Find them, keep them, build with them. Let me tell you something about disappointment. About why it hurts so much when people let you down, about what it's actually telling you. The disappointment hurts so much because you expected too much. Not because you're wrong to have expectations, but because you expected from someone who couldn't deliver. You expected them to be your stability, but they can only be themselves, with their own limitations. You expected them to always be there, but they have their own lives, their own priorities, their own capacity. You expected them to meet all your needs, but no one person can do that. That's too much to ask of anyone. So the disappointment isn't just about them failing. It's about your expectations being unrealistic. About you asking for something that no human can consistently give. And recognizing that isn't about blaming yourself. It's about adjusting your expectations to reality. About asking people for what they can actually give, not what you need them to be. Because people can give you some support, some presence, some care, but not all of it, not constantly, not perfectly. They can add to your life, but they can't be your life. They can support you, but they can't be your entire support system. They can be there sometimes, but not always. And when you expect more than that, when you need them to be everything, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. Not because they're bad people, but because you're asking for something impossible. So adjust your expectations, not by lowering them to nothing, not by expecting people to be terrible, but by making them realistic, by expecting what people can actually give. Expect them to be human, with limitations, with their own lives, with their own capacity. Expect them to sometimes be there and sometimes not. Expect them to care, but not perfectly. Expect them to try, but not always succeed. That's realistic. That's fair. That's what humans actually are. And when you expect reality instead of perfection, disappointment hurts less. Because you're not shocked when they're not perfect. You're not devastated when they have limits. You're not destroyed when they can't always be there. You're just dealing with reality, with humans being human, with people being imperfect. And that's manageable. That's acceptable. That's okay. So the work isn't just about depending on yourself more. It's also about expecting less from others. Not in a cynical way. Not in a way that assumes everyone will fail you. But in a realistic way. In a way that recognizes people are human. In a way that doesn't require perfection to avoid disappointment. Expect humans to be human. Expect people to have limits. Expect imperfection. And then you won't be so disappointed when that's what you get. You'll just be dealing with reality, with what people can actually give, with humans being human. And from that place, you can appreciate what they do give, instead of resenting what they can't. You can be grateful for their presence, instead of devastated by their absence. You can value their effort, instead of being disappointed it's not perfect. That's realistic expectations. That's wisdom. That's what protects you from constant disappointment. So build your own stability and expect others to be human. Those two things together will transform how you experience relationships. You won't be dependent and devastated. You'll be stable and realistic. You won't expect perfection and be constantly disappointed. You'll expect humanity and be pleasantly surprised when people show up well. That's sustainable. That's healthy. That's real. Now let's talk about what healthy relationships actually look like, because I think there's confusion about this. Healthy relationships aren't about dependency. They're not about needing someone so much you can't function without them. They're not about making someone responsible for your entire emotional state. Healthy relationships are interdependence, two whole people choosing to share their lives. Two stable individuals choosing to support each other. Two self-sufficient people choosing to be together. Not because they need to, but because they want to. Not because they'll fall apart without each other, but because life is richer together. That's different. That's healthier. That's sustainable. When you're your own stable foundation first, when you've built your own sense of worth, when you trust yourself and depend on yourself, then you can have healthy relationships. Because you're not looking to them to complete you, to fix you, to be your everything. You're already whole, already stable, already okay. And you're inviting them to share that with you, to add to your already good life, to enhance what's already working. That's attractive. That's healthy. That's real. And ironically, it makes relationships better. Because you're not clingy, you're not needy, you're not constantly requiring reassurance. You're secure in yourself, so you can be generous with them. You can give them space. You can support them without losing yourself. That's what healthy relationships need. Two people who are secure enough in themselves to truly give to each other not from neediness, not from dependency, but from wholeness, from overflow, from abundance, from stability. That's what you're working toward. Not isolation, not independence in the sense of never needing anyone, but healthy interdependence, where you can rely on others without being dependent, where you can trust others without giving them all your power, where you can love others without losing yourself. That's possible, but only when you've done the work of becoming your own foundation first. So that's what tonight is about. That work, that foundation, that internal stability. Building yourself into someone who's okay on their own, who has their own worth, who trusts themselves first. Not so you can be alone forever, but so you can be healthily connected, so you can have real relationships, so you can love without dependency. That's the goal. That's what healthy looks like. That's what you're working toward. So keep building. Keep trusting yourself. Keep becoming your own foundation. Not as an end in itself, but as preparation for healthy connection, for real relationships, for sustainable love. You can have that, but only when you've built yourself first. Only when you've become stable in yourself. Only when you're your own safe place. So do that work. Make that investment. Build that foundation. And then watch how your relationships transform, how they become healthier, how they become more balanced, how they become more real. Because you're showing up whole, not half looking for completion, but whole, inviting someone to share. That's beautiful. That's healthy. That's what relationships are meant to be. Here's what happens when you become your own foundation. When you depend on yourself first. When you create your own stability. You become free. Free to love without fear. Free to trust without giving all your power away. Free to connect without losing yourself. You become peaceful because your stability isn't dependent on anyone else's behavior. Your peace isn't contingent on anyone else's presence. Your sense of worth isn't tied to anyone else's validation. You become powerful because you're not giving your power to others. You're not making them responsible for your emotional state. You're not handing them control over your well-being. You become authentic because you're not performing to keep someone. You're not pretending to be someone you're not to maintain connection. You're not abandoning yourself to please others. All of that becomes possible when you're your own foundation. When you've built internal stability. When you trust yourself and depend on yourself first. And ironically, it makes your relationships better, healthier, more real. Because you're showing up as yourself, not as someone desperately needing them, not as someone who will fall apart without them, but as someone who wants them, chooses them, appreciates them from wholeness, from stability, from security. And that's attractive. That's healthy. That's what creates real intimacy. Not neediness. Not dependency. Not desperation. But choice. From security. From fullness. So becoming your own foundation isn't just about you. It's about the quality of your relationships. It's about what you bring to connections. It's about how you love and are loved from a place of wholeness, from a foundation of stability, from a sense of internal security. That changes everything for you and for everyone you're in relationship with. So do this work. Build this foundation. Become your own safe place. Not just for you, though that would be reason enough, but for the ripple effect it creates, for how it transforms your relationships, for how it allows you to love and be loved more fully. Because when you're secure in yourself, you can be generous with others. When you trust yourself, you can trust others more wisely. When you're your own foundation, you can build healthy connections. That's what you're working toward. That's what this is all about. That's what becomes possible. So keep going. Keep building. Keep becoming your own safe place. It's worth it. For you, for your relationships, for your life. So do it. Commit to it. Live it. You are your own safe place. Build that. Trust that. Be that. And watch how everything transforms. How you transform. How your relationships transform. How your life transforms. All because you did the work of becoming stable in yourself, of trusting yourself, of being your own foundation. That's powerful. That's transformative. That's worth every effort. Ceilings. As you lie here feeling disappointed by someone you trusted too much, depended on too much, I want you to feel something. Feel your own presence, your own ground, your own internal stability. It's there. It's always been there. You just forgot about it while you were looking to others. Feel your breath, your own breath, sustaining you, keeping you alive without anyone else's help. Feel your heartbeat, your own heartbeat, steady, reliable, present. Feel your body, your own body, holding you, supporting you, being your home. This is your foundation. This is your safe place. This is your ground. Not out there in someone else, but right here, in you, with you, as you. You are your own safe place. Can you feel that? Can you sense that? Can you rest in that? Tonight, practice coming home to yourself. Not in isolation, not in rejection of others, but in recognition of your own internal stability. You are here. You are present. You are enough. With or without anyone else. With or without their approval. With or without their presence. You are your own safe place. And from this place, from this foundation, from this ground, you can invite others in. You can connect. You can love. You can trust. But not from neediness, not from dependency, not from fear of being alone, from wholeness, from stability, from security in yourself. That's healthy connection. That's real relationship. That's sustainable love. So rest here tonight, in your own presence, in your own body, in your own being. You are your own safe place. Feel that. Know that. Trust that. And tomorrow, when you interact with others, when you connect, when you love. Do it from this place, from your own ground, from your own security, from your own safe place. Not looking to them to be your everything, but inviting them to share your already stable ground. That's healthy. That's balanced. That's real. So practice it. Live it. Be it. You are your own safe place. Remember that. Trust that. Live from that. And watch how everything shifts. How you feel more secure. How your relationships become healthier. How your life becomes more balanced. All because you came home to yourself. All because you built your own foundation. All because you became your own safe place. That's the work. That's the practice. That's the path. So walk it. Live it. Be it. You are your own safe place. Always have been. Always will be. Rest in that tonight. Trust that tomorrow. Live from that always. Let me tell you what your life looks like when you're finally your own foundation. When you've stopped depending on others too much. When you trust yourself first. You wake up feeling okay. Not because someone texted you, not because someone validated you, but because you know you're okay regardless. You go through your day making choices based on what's right for you, not based on what will keep someone else happy, not based on fear of losing someone. You have relationships, but they're balanced. You give, but you also receive. You support, but you also set boundaries. You love, but you don't lose yourself. That's freedom. Real freedom. Not the kind that comes from isolating, but the kind that comes from being stable in yourself. And that freedom brings peace. Deep peace. The kind that doesn't depend on anyone else's behavior. The kind that stays with you even when people disappoint you. That peace creates confidence. Not arrogant confidence, but quiet confidence that knows your own worth. That trusts your own judgment, but relies on your own stability. And that confidence enables authentic living. Being yourself, setting boundaries, saying no when you need to, choosing yourself when necessary. All without the constant fear of being abandoned. All without the anxiety of dependency. All without the devastation of disappointment. That's what's waiting for you. That's what's possible. That's what life looks like when you're your own foundation. And getting there isn't about becoming cold or closed off. It's about becoming stable enough in yourself that you can be open with others without losing yourself. It's about building a foundation strong enough that others' presence is a gift, not a necessity. That their love enhances your life, not defines it. That's what you're working toward. One choice at a time. One moment of self-trust at a time. One act of self-reliance at a time. Until it becomes natural. Until you automatically trust yourself first. Until you instinctively depend on yourself primarily. And then, relationships become what they're meant to be. Additions to your already good life. Enhancements to your already stable foundation. Gifts to appreciate, not necessities to desperately cling to. That's beautiful. That's healthy. That's real. So keep building. Keep trusting yourself. Keep becoming your own safe place. Because that's where freedom is. That's where peace is. That's where healthy relationships are. In you. Built by you. Created through your own work of becoming stable. Trusting yourself. Depending on yourself first. That's your path. That's your practice. That's your future. So claim it. Build it. Live it. You are your own safe place. Make that your reality. Not someday, but through daily choices. Through consistent practice. Through repeatedly choosing yourself. That's how you get there. That's how you break free from dependency. That's how you build the life you want. One choice at a time. Starting tonight. So, here we are, at the end of our time together tonight. And I hope something has shifted for you. I hope you see that depending too much on others has been hurting you. I hope you understand that you need to be your own foundation first. You've been disappointed. You've been hurt. You've been let down by people you trusted too much, depended on too completely. And that's painful. I'm not minimizing that. Disappointment is real. Hurt is valid. Feeling let down is legitimate. But continuing to depend on others too much, continuing to give them all your power, continuing to make them responsible for your well-being, that's just setting yourself up for more pain. So it's time to change. Time to build your own foundation. Time to become your own safe place. Not because people are terrible, but because they're human, with limitations, with their own lives, with their own capacity. And you need a stability that doesn't depend on their perfection, a sense of worth that doesn't require their validation, a peace that isn't contingent on their presence. Sleep tonight, knowing that you can build that. You can become your own foundation. You can create your own stability. It won't happen overnight. It's a practice, a daily choice, a consistent commitment. But it's possible, and it's necessary, and it's what will protect you from constant disappointment. Tomorrow, start the work. Start trusting yourself. Start depending on yourself. Start building your own foundation. And keep building. One choice at a time. One moment at a time. One day at a time. Until you're stable in yourself. Until you trust yourself first. Until you're your own safe place. And then, from that stability, you can have healthy relationships. You can trust wisely. You can love without losing yourself. That's what's waiting. That's what's possible. That's what you deserve. So claim it. Build it. Live it. You are your own safe place. Not someday. Not when you're different. But through the work of becoming that. Starting tonight. Starting now. You've been disappointed by depending too much on others. Now it's time to learn to depend on yourself first. That's your path. That's your practice. That's your freedom. So walk it. Build it. Live it. You are your own safe place. Make that your truth, your reality, your foundation. Good night, dear friend. The work begins now. The building starts tonight. Your foundation is yours to create. You are your own safe place. Remember that. Trust that. Become that. And watch how everything changes. How disappointment hurts less. How relationships become healthier. how life becomes more stable. All because you became your own foundation. All because you trusted yourself first. All because you made yourself your own safe place. That's your power. That's your freedom. That's your future. Claim it. Build it. Live it. You are your own safe place. Always. You've been through enough to know that nothing stays the same. The things you thought were permanent changed. The people you believed would stay didn't. The plans you made unraveled in ways you couldn't predict. And after a while, that teaches you something. You can't always control what happens, but you can learn to trust yourself through it. That's what being your own safe place really means. Not living a life without storms, but knowing you have roots deep enough to hold you steady when they come. You've survived so much already. Moments that shook you to your core. Seasons when you thought you wouldn't make it. And yet, here you are, still breathing, still growing, still finding a way to keep showing up for yourself. That's strength. Quiet, unshakable strength. The truth is, life will always keep moving. Things will change again. People will come and go. Certainties will shift. And each time, your mind might reach for control, for plans, for answers, for something solid to hold. But sometimes, the most solid thing you have is the calm you build inside yourself. It's the breath you return to when fear gets loud. It's the softness you offer yourself when doubt begins to creep in. It's the way you remind yourself, I've felt lost before, and I found my way. You can do that again. Because grounding isn't about knowing the outcome. It's about trusting your capacity to face it. You don't need to predict the future to feel safe. You just need to keep choosing presence over panic. Try this. Place your hand over your heart. Feel it beating, steady, constant, alive. That rhythm is your reminder. Even when everything else changes, you are still here. You are still yours. You don't have to have it all figured out tonight. You don't need every answer to feel secure. Safety doesn't live in what you can control. It lives in what you can return to. And you can always return to yourself. You can return to your breath, to your truth, to your stillness, to your ability to self-soothe self-hold, self-ground. That's your power, not perfection, not predictability, but presence. So when life shifts again, and it will, don't reach for certainty. Reach for you, the version of you who has been through storms before, who knows how to keep standing when the ground shakes. You've built roots that no one can see. You've built safety that no one can take. You are grounded. You are safe. You are home. For most of your life, you were taught to manage emotions like fires, something to control before they get out of hand. You learn to quiet your tears, to hide your anger, to soften your sadness so others wouldn't feel uncomfortable. Somewhere along the way, you began to believe that your feelings were too much, too heavy, too loud, too complicated. But your emotions are not a threat to your safety. They are proof that you are alive. They are waves that rise and fall, never meant to drown you, only meant to move through you. You can stop running from them now. You don't need to brace yourself every time something hurts. You don't have to fear the weight of what you feel. Because you know something now that you didn't before. You can hold space for your emotions without losing yourself in them. You can witness your sadness without becoming it. You can sit with your anger without letting it burn you. You can acknowledge your fear without letting it lead you. You are strong enough to feel and still stay grounded. You are wise enough to listen to what your emotions are trying to tell you, without letting them write the whole story. So when sadness comes, don't push it away. Let it sit beside you. When joy visits, let it fill the room. When anger rises, let it speak its truth. Then let it rest. You are allowed to feel all of it, the light and the dark, the grief and the gratitude, the chaos and the calm. You don't have to be afraid of your emotions anymore. They're not here to destroy you. They're here to guide you. Each one is a message. Sadness says, something mattered. Anger says, a boundary was crossed. Fear says, I need reassurance. Joy says, I am safe here. When you listen, when you feel, when you stay, you build trust with yourself. You show your inner world that it's safe to exist. You create emotional safety from the inside out. And that's what it means to be your own safe place. It's not about never feeling pain. It's about knowing that no matter what you feel, you can handle it. You can cry without breaking. You can rage without ruining. You can grieve without losing yourself. You can feel deeply and still be whole. Your emotions don't make you fragile. They make you real. They make you human. They make you, you. So breathe. Let it move through you. Let it rise. Let it fall. Let it go. You don't have to fight it anymore. You can trust yourself to feel and stay safe, because you are safe, whole, grounded, even in the middle of every feeling. There was a time when you didn't know what to do with your pain. You looked for someone to fix it, to tell you everything would be okay, to make the ache inside you quieter. And sometimes people did try, with kind words, with presence, with care. But eventually you learned something powerful. Not everyone will know how to hold you the way you need to be held. Not everyone will understand your silence, your heaviness, your pauses. And that's when you realized you could learn to hold yourself. Self-soothing isn't about pretending you're fine. It's not about ignoring your feelings or pushing them away. It's about building a space within yourself where comfort is always available, even when no one else is. It's a gentle voice that says, "It's okay. I've got you." It's a hand you offer to your own heart when it starts to race. It's a deep breath that reminds your body it's safe again. You've learned to talk yourself down from the edge, to find the calm within the chaos. You've learned that peace isn't something given. It's something created, moment by moment, breath by breath. Sometimes, self-soothing means wrapping yourself in a blanket and sitting in silence until the shaking stops. Sometimes it means listening to music that reminds you of softness. Sometimes it's journaling, crying, stretching, praying, or simply whispering your own name, like a promise you intend to keep. You've learned how to be the one who stays, the one who doesn't leave when it gets hard, the one who can meet their own pain with compassion instead of criticism. You know now that you don't have to wait for someone else to tell you it's going to be okay. You can say it to yourself and mean it. You can remind your body what safety feels like. You can slow your breathing, unclench your hands, and let your nervous system remember what calm sounds like. There's a quiet magic in realizing that you can be both the one who hurts and the one who heals. That you can be your own comfort, your own shelter, your own reassurance that you will be okay. Because you will. Every time you soothe yourself, instead of abandoning yourself, you rebuild trust within. You teach your inner world that you can be relied on, that you won't run when things get hard. That's how safety grows. Not through perfection, but through presence. Through showing up again and again for the parts of you that need gentleness most. So tonight, place a hand on your heart. Feel it beating for you. Whisper softly, "I'm here. I've got you." That's all you've ever needed to hear. And now, you can say it for yourself. For so long, you thought being kind meant always being available. You thought love meant saying yes. You thought compassion meant carrying more than your share. And because of that, you learned to stretch yourself thin just to make everyone else more comfortable. But now, you're learning something gentler. Boundaries are not walls. They are doors. And you get to decide who walks through them and when. You can love people and still say no. You can care deeply and still choose distance. You can show up for others without disappearing in the process. It's okay if not everyone understands that. It's okay if people call your boundaries cold because they were used to your self-abandonment. You're not being selfish. You're being whole. Protecting your peace isn't about shutting people out. It's about keeping your energy sacred. It's about saying, "I love you, but I also love me. And I refuse to lose myself trying to keep us both comfortable." Boundaries are self-love in action. They're how you tell the world, "My energy matters. My time matters. My needs matter." You are not responsible for everyone's happiness. You are not the solution to every problem. You are allowed to step back when things feel heavy. You are allowed to rest without explaining yourself. Sometimes, setting a boundary will make people uncomfortable, but that discomfort is theirs to process, not yours to fix. You are allowed to disappoint others in the process of not betraying yourself. It will take practice. Your voice might shake at first. You might overthink every no. You might worry you're being harsh. But with time, you'll realize boundaries don't push love away. They teach love how to stay. They keep resentment from growing. They make room for honesty, for safety, for peace. Every time you honor a boundary, you tell your inner self, "You are safe with me." You tell your body, "I won't make you carry what's not yours anymore." You tell your heart, "You don't have to earn rest by overgiving." That's what it means to be your own safe place. To protect your peace without apology. You are allowed to be kind and firm. You are allowed to be soft and strong. You are allowed to love people deeply and still choose yourself completely. So tonight, breathe in this truth. You are not responsible for everyone else's comfort. You are responsible for your own well-being. You can hold your peace gently as something sacred, as something you fought to reclaim. And you never have to feel guilty for guarding it. Because peace is not selfish. It's survival. And it's what allows you to keep loving without losing yourself again. Somewhere along the way, you learned to second-guess yourself. Maybe it happened quietly, a few small moments when someone told you you were being too sensitive, too dramatic, or that what you felt wasn't really happening. Maybe it came from always trying to do the right thing, the responsible thing, the thing that kept the peace, even when it didn't feel right inside your body. And little by little, you started to believe that your intuition was something to be corrected, not something to be trusted. But that deep knowing inside you, it never left. It's still there, waiting for you to listen again. Self-trust doesn't return all at once. It begins with small moments. The moments when you listen to your gut and it turns out to be right. The moments when you stop explaining yourself and just choose what feels true. The moments when you realize you don't need to collect permission slips from anyone to follow what your heart already knows. You've spent enough time betraying yourself for the sake of acceptance, enough time silencing your own voice to make others more comfortable, enough time ignoring the small signs that your body and your heart have been sending you. It's safe to listen again. It's safe to believe yourself again. You know when something feels wrong. You know when something feels right. That knowing, that quiet inner compass, has been guiding you all along. You don't have to justify it. You don't have to explain it. You just have to honor it. Every time you choose your own truth over someone else's comfort, you strengthen the bond between you and you. Every time you say, "I feel this," and believe it, you rebuild trust in your own wisdom. And yes, you will make mistakes. But that's okay. Trusting yourself doesn't mean you'll never be wrong. It means you'll know how to come back to yourself when you are. It means you'll stop abandoning yourself at the first sign of uncertainty. You can trust your emotions, your instincts, your timing, your path. You've proven again and again that you know how to find your way, even when it's dark, even when no one's clapping for you, even when the world doubts your steps. So tonight, say it softly. I trust myself. Say it again. Say it until your heart believes it. Because you are not lost. you're remembering. You are not naive. You are intuitive. You are not too much. You are honest. And you've always known the way home. You're just learning to listen again. Trust that voice. It's yours. It's safe. And it's been right there all along. You've always been good at respecting others. You listen when people speak. You remember what they love, what hurts them, what they need. You hold space. You show grace. You give understanding even when it costs you energy you don't have. But now it's time to turn that same respect inward. Because the way you treat yourself sets the tone for how the world learns to treat you. Self-respect isn't loud. It doesn't demand attention or make declarations. It lives in your boundaries. It shows up in your decisions. It whispers in your choices. I deserve to be treated gently. I deserve peace. It's in the moments when you stop over-explaining your worth. When you stop settling for almost love, almost effort, almost honesty. When you stop shrinking to fit inside someone else's comfort. Respect is knowing when something isn't aligned with your peace and choosing not to chase it. It's saying, "This doesn't feel right," and trusting that your truth is reason enough. It's walking away without bitterness, simply because you know you deserve more than confusion. There was a time when you gave out respect like air to everyone but yourself. You forgave people who never apologized. You kept showing up for those who wouldn't do the same. You stayed quiet when your heart was screaming. But now, you're learning a different way. Respect doesn't mean self-sacrifice. It means standing in your truth without needing anyone to validate it. It means choosing not to beg for what you've already earned. It means holding your own worth with both hands and saying, "I will not set myself on fire to keep others warm." You are not difficult for wanting consistency. You are not demanding for asking to be treated with care. You are not too much for having standards. You are simply remembering your value. And every time you act from that remembrance, you strengthen the foundation of your peace. Respect looks like rest. It looks like walking away from drama that drains you. It looks like saying no to things that don't nourish you. It looks like giving your time only where it's reciprocated. It's not pride, it's preservation. It's not ego, it's energy protection. You don't have to prove your worth through exhaustion anymore. You don't have to convince anyone that you deserve softness. You just have to live like you believe it. Because when you respect yourself, You stop accepting anything that asks you to abandon who you are. And that's when peace becomes your natural state. So breathe, straighten your shoulders. Let this truth settle deep in your bones. You are not asking for too much. You are remembering that you were always enough. Respect yourself the way you've respected others, with patience, with gentleness, with unwavering grace, because you are worth that and more. There's a younger version of you still living inside, the one who tried so hard to be good, the one who smiled when they were scared, the one who learned to stay quiet because it felt safer that way. That version of you still remembers the things you went through, the moments you weren't chosen, the times you weren't comforted, the words you needed to hear but never got. For so long, you thought healing meant forgetting that child. Growing up meant leaving them behind. But healing is the opposite. It's turning around and going back for them. You don't have to rescue your inner child by rewriting the past. You rescue them by giving them what they always deserved, now. Safety, patience, kindness, understanding. You can be the one who says, "You were never too sensitive. You didn't imagine it. You were always worthy of love." You can look at that small, tender version of you and tell them that it wasn't their fault. None of it. Not the silence, not the neglect, not the moments when you had to grow up too fast. You can tell them, you didn't do anything wrong. You just needed care that others couldn't give. And now, you can give it to yourself. Every time you rest when you're tired, you show that child that it's safe to slow down. Every time you set a boundary, you prove that their comfort matters. Every time you speak your truth without fear, you teach them that their voice deserves to be heard. This is what it means to reparent yourself. Not to erase who you've been, but to hold them gently, to love them into safety. You don't have to be hard on yourself anymore. You don't have to earn comfort or love or peace. You just have to remember that little you is still inside, watching, waiting, hoping you'll finally choose them. So tonight, close your eyes for a moment. Picture that child, maybe scared, maybe tired, maybe just waiting for someone to notice. Walk toward them. Kneel down. Look them in the eyes and whisper, "You're safe now. I'm here. I won't leave you again." And mean it, because healing doesn't always look like transformation. Sometimes it looks like finally keeping that promise to stay, to protect, to love yourself like you always needed. You can be that safe place now. You already are. There was a time when silence scared you, when an empty room felt like proof that you weren't enough, when being alone made your thoughts too loud, your emotions too heavy, your heart too restless. But solitude is not the same as loneliness. Solitude is the quiet where you meet yourself. It's the space between distractions, where your truth finally has room to breathe. You've spent years trying to fill the quiet, scrolling, talking, planning, doing. You thought that if you stayed busy enough, you could outrun the ache of being alone. But the ache wasn't asking to be escaped. It was asking to be seen. It was never emptiness. It was longing. A longing to come home to yourself. And that's what you're learning to do now. To sit in stillness and realize it's not dangerous. To hear your own thoughts and not run from them. To fill your own space with peace instead of noise. When you're truly at peace with your own presence, you stop needing constant distraction. You stop chasing people or moments to validate your worth. You start realizing that your energy, your attention, your love, they are enough to fill a room. Aloneness becomes a sanctuary instead of a sentence. A place where you can rest, recharge, and listen deeply to the parts of yourself that get drowned out in the noise. You start to notice little things again. The sound of your breathing, the way light falls through your window, the calm that arrives when you stop performing for anyone. This is where you rediscover your essence, the self that isn't shaped by expectation or fear, the self that doesn't have to prove anything, the self that simply exists. And in that existence is enough. You begin to understand that your worth doesn't depend on who texts you, who stays, or who notices your silence. You're not waiting to be chosen. You already belong to yourself. There is a kind of strength that grows in solitude, a soft, quiet strength that doesn't need validation. It's the strength of knowing I am my own company, and that is not a punishment. It's a homecoming. So tonight, if you find yourself in a quiet room, don't reach for noise right away. Breathe. Let the stillness hold you. Let yourself feel your own energy. Steady, calm, present. You don't have to fill the space. You are the space. You are the peace. And when you learn to love your own company, you'll never fear being alone again, because you'll realize you were never truly alone to begin with. You've always had yourself, and now you finally know how to stay. You've fallen apart before. You've faced endings you didn't want. changes you didn't choose, losses that left empty spaces where love used to live. And yet, somehow, you're still here, still breathing, still capable of rebuilding, even when you thought you couldn't. That's resilience. Not the absence of pain, but the strength to keep moving through it. To let life break you open and still choose to heal, again and again. You've learned that healing doesn't mean never hurting again. It means trusting that pain will not destroy you. It means knowing you can sit in the storm and still find your center. It means believing in your ability to begin again, as many times as it takes. You've done that before, haven't you? You've had nights that felt endless, grief that felt unbearable, and still, morning came, and with it, a breath, a small spark, a step forward. You didn't need to have it all figured out to keep going. You just needed to believe that your story wasn't over yet. That's the thing about you. You may bend, but you don't break. You may rest, but you don't give up. You may feel lost, but you always find your way back. Because even in your hardest moments, there's a small, quiet part of you that whispers, "I can handle this." You may not always hear it at first, but it's there, steady, patient, waiting. Resilience isn't about pretending you're fine. It's about allowing yourself to not be fine, and still showing up for yourself anyway. It's crying and still choosing to get out of bed the next day. It's being scared and still making the call. It's hurting and still believing that joy will return. You don't need to rush your recovery. You don't need to force yourself to bounce back. You can rebuild slowly, gently, in your own time. Each time you fall and rise again, you build deeper trust with yourself. You prove over and over that you are capable of surviving every ending. And not just surviving, but becoming. There is power in that, the quiet power of endurance, the kind of strength that doesn't scream, but hums beneath your skin like a heartbeat. I've been here before, and I made it through. So when life knocks you down again, and it will, don't see it as failure. See it as another chance to remember who you are. You don't have to know how everything will work out. You just have to know that you will. Because you always have, and you always will. You can trust your resilience. You can trust your comeback. You can trust yourself. No matter what happens, you can always find your way home. Back to peace. Back to hope. Back to you. You've spent so much of your life searching for peace, for love, for validation, for home. You thought wholeness would arrive when you healed everything, when the pain finally stopped. when you became some perfect version of yourself. But the truth is softer than that. Wholeness isn't something you chase. It's something you remember. It's the quiet realization that even with the cracks, the scars, the unfinished pieces, you were never incomplete. You were whole all along. There's a kind of peace that comes when you stop trying to fix yourself and start listening to yourself instead. When you stop treating your healing like a project and start treating it like a relationship. You don't need to earn your own love anymore. You don't need to wait until you deserve peace. You can rest in it now, just as you are. Every version of you, the one who fell apart, the one who kept going, the one who doubted, the one who believed again, they all belong. You don't have to abandon your past selves to step into your future. You just have to bring them home. Wholeness is not about becoming perfect. It's about integrating everything you've been through, the joy, the pain, the confusion, the clarity, and saying, all of this is me, and I love her anyway. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are not unfinished. You are a living, breathing story, and every chapter has purpose, even the hard ones, even the quiet ones, even the ones that made you doubt your worth. Because each one led you here, to this moment, this breath, this truth. You are safe. You are enough. You are home. You don't need anyone to complete you. You don't need a perfect ending to feel at peace. You can rest in the knowing that everything you need to feel whole already lives inside you. The world may change, people may come and go, but your center, your truth, stays. It's the calm within the storm, the warmth within the dark, the home you carry everywhere you go. So, take one last deep breath. Feel it move through your body, the same body that's held you through everything. Let it remind you that you are here, alive, present, enough. You've walked through so many versions of yourself to arrive at this one. And she, this version, deserves to rest. Not because she's done everything right, but because she's finally learned that she doesn't have to earn her own belonging. You belong here. You belong to you. And you always have. You are whole. You are safe. You are home.